Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
There was a lot of debate, a lot of rallies, a lot of everything this week, but one topic that rose to the top is congressional redistricting and is gaining new steam, new momentum. I spoke to Dallas freshman Congresswoman Julie Johnson, who is a Democrat, and her district currently is urban and suburban. Under the proposed House map, it turns rural and red in East Texas.
I think this first draft of the maps is one of the most racist attempts at voting segregation that I've ever seen. And that's going to be brought out. And if you look at all of the redistricting hearings that have happened throughout the state, I was at the one Monday night here in North Texas. Over 1,000 people came out to protest this map. And that's been the case throughout all the other redistricting hearings as well. And what I know is that these Texas Republicans are ignoring the overwhelming loud voice of Texans opposing these maps.
Why do you think the map is racist?
Well, because it really divides communities of color and separates them. What the Voting Rights Act was intended to do was to give communities of color, in particular, who have historically been disenfranchised in the vote, the opportunity to come together as a community, as a bloc, and elect a candidate of their choice. And what they're doing is they're piecing them apart and stringing them out over hundreds of miles with different right urban, right rural counties. And they're just really disenfranchising that. If you look at my current 32, it's very compact. It's very urban. I don't have a single rural area in that. I don't think there's a single plot of farm in 32 currently. And they're taking a section of it and stringing it out. And that's what they've done through many of these districts throughout the state in this redistricting process.
President Trump said he thinks he can pick up 5 seats in Texas alone. With that proposed House map, does it look like he could pick up 5 seats?
I think it makes some of them very competitive. I think the Houston seat that they're trying to draw out is a very competitive race. I haven't had a chance to really dig deep into all of the data. The maps have just come out. We're going to do a hard look to see. But what I do know is that these maps are based on 2020 census data, and that data has changed dramatically. We've had 2.5 million people move to Texas, a lot of that here in North Texas, since these census maps were drawn, and that these new maps do not factor into that population shift. And so I think they don't accurately represent or reflect the partisan voting nature of these districts. And it's going to be a very interesting couple of months to figure it out.
Do you still have that same feeling that Democrat states like California should do their own form of gerrymandering?
Absolutely. We all need to play by the same rules. That's the thing. I support, independent redistricting throughout the entire country. But what we can't have is half the country doing independent redistricting and half the country doing partisan gerrymandering. We all need to play by the same rules. And so if Texas chooses to proceed and finalize these maps and approve something like this, and I think California, New York, Illinois, they all need to do the same. Because there's a lot at stake nationally. The soul of our country is at stake and the future of our democracy. And the vast amount of the American people do not agree at all with what Trump and these national Republicans are doing. And they deserve to have an opportunity to stop it.
I mean, I know hundreds of people are going to testify at how many ever hearings that happen in the coming days, weeks, whatever. Is that just going through the motions? Is the deed already done in Democrats' eyes?
There's a lot of Republicans and there's a lot of people who are showing up to these hearings outraged, viscerally outraged, expressing their displeasure with this process. Republicans can choose to ignore those voters, but they may pay the price for that come November.
All right, my word is pressure cooker. I can explain that in the next block. Rudy Koski, what's your word?
That's good. I like that. I was going to go turf battle. I also thought about distraction, but I settled on tantrum.
Okay. Greg Rugan, what's your word?
Stephen, my word is gamble.
All right. Well, the Fox Texas Trio, we'll see how this gamble plays out when we return. All right, the Fox Texas Trio is back. Rudy, you're first up to bat. Now, Monday at the last field hearing that the committee in the House had. They said they had not seen any maps, and then less than 48 hours later, a map posted. Rudy, what's your initial reaction to this proposed map?
Stephen, I'm not surprised at all, not by the map and not by the over-the-top political outrage by Democrats, and rightfully so. You know, this is a political party fistfight, nothing different than what we've seen before in past redistricting issues that both sides have done. And like in the past, the screaming tantrums, my word, will become legal court briefs filed in a lawsuit. We know where this is heading to, straight to a courtroom. The one interesting bit of analysis that I've heard so far involves the possible political chess game that's going on. And Greg kind of alluded to this, and we're going to hear, I think, a little bit from Greg on this. It's been suggested MAP is an art of the deal kind of rewrite from Trump, where the GOP went big on the grab, really big, trying to get those 5 seats, but will negotiate down from trying to snatch 5 House seats to a map that maybe provides a solid 2 new seats. Stephen?
Yeah, Greg, I mean, Harris County is definitely in the battle zone here. I mean, each of our markets, we have North Texas has one, where Rudy is in the Austin area has one, and you guys definitely have a fight too. Your take on the map?
Well, Democrats here are screaming to high heaven, alleging racism and illegal power grab. If the map that came out this week is actually adopted, it would essentially squeeze 2 legacy African-American districts, the 9th and the 18th, into one. And for folks in a metro that's roughly 18% black, that feels very much like a clawback of their stroke in D.C. Now, on the flip side, the Latinos who are lashing out are universally Democrat. An important distinction given Trump won the Texas Hispanic vote in 2024 with a whopping 13% gain over his performance in 2020. That's a landscape shift in the Lone Star State if it holds. In the meantime, this map, if it survives challenge, could set up a brown versus black Democrat battle for Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia's 29th, with white progressive neighborhoods incorporated into the redrawn district as the swing vote. Congressman Green will have to decide whether to abandon his current seat in CD9 and seek the vacant 18th, which, as drawn by the Republicans, incorporates much of his current district. Bottom line, Democratic candidates here are faced with 2 fights: the battle to block the GOP map while simultaneously positioning to prevail in next year's primary if the new boundaries actually stick. Stephen?
Rudy, I know you guys have a fight down in the Austin area too. Greg talked about a squeeze happening in Harris County. There's a squeeze where you are with Greg Casar and Lloyd Doggett. Talk about what people are saying in the Austin area.
Well, the outrage has been like my accent, outrageous. Central Texas is one of those Democrat Mortal Kombat districts that Greg's talking about. The blending of 35-37 has set up a possible old guard dog versus new progressive socialist face-off between Lloyd Doggett and Greg Casar, both very popular here in Austin. Now, Doggett, he is a survivor of several past efforts to just redistrict him straight off Capitol Hill, and he's won. He's still standing, and he has a sizable war chest to work with. Casar, you know, he's going to be banking on the young, hardcore party crowd to turn out for him. On the Republican side, District 10, held by Michael McCall, shifts a little north. It should be a safe adjustment, but nothing is certain in politics. District 31, though, is one that I'm going to watch, not because of the rewrite to help Democrats. Incumbent John Carter, he's going for his 13th term. There are several younger Republican Party primary challengers, and there are 2 Democrats running for 31, but the rewrite appears to make it a deeper red by pulling blue parts of Taylor and Hutto out. But nonetheless, it's still going to be interesting.
All right, Greg, you have the final say. Regardless of what the map is, do you think a map will clear at the end of this special session?
Stephen, my wild-ass guess, my wag, is no. A Democratic quorum break was anticipated at some point, and I think this development seals that likelihood, if anything, to buy more time. You know, Minority Leader Jeffries blew into Austin to strategize, and one has to think he and Texas Democratic leaders Also talked opportunity, that is, does this map dilute existing so-called safe Republican districts into vulnerability in the midterms? As we've reported, that's the private concern of quite a few sitting members of our state's GOP delegation. We'll see what happens.
Welcome back. The issue for the Texas trio in this segment, President Trump's executive order called Saving College Sports. Now, it's about the ongoing controversy involving compensating student athletes, what's classified as name, image, and likeness deals. Pretty pricey stuff. The president's play into this issue comes as the college football season is about to kick off. Dr. Emily Sparvero, a sports management professor at the University of Texas, spoke to me about the executive order and if it will help settle some of the dust in this pay-for-play debate.
Not by a long shot. It's called Saving College Sports, and it would be great if that was really that easy to just issue an executive order. But in a lot of ways, all that the executive order has done is introduce more confusion into an already very chaotic environment.
Football season is about to kick off. For the kids who have these big deals, Arch Manning at University of Texas and some of the other kids across the state, are their checks going to bounce?
Well, I think those checks will still clear. And really, you have athletic departments that for months have been preparing for this July 1st change in the environment. But what it is going to do is kind of launch a whole new round of litigation as people try to discern what the executive order is going to mean practically for athletic departments.
How do we describe what happened? Is this a first domino that knocks everything else down, or is this the ignition key that starts an engine to something bigger?
So I think it's the ignition key. I really like that metaphor. But what this does is possibly put pressure on Congress to act.
In the executive order, the president cited Title IX, saying that he was trying to protect women's sports. We've heard that some universities, in order to keep their payroll, their collectives, their payouts going, they're going to have to cut something. And some women's sports and lesser sports may go. Will this protect women's sports?
It remains to be seen, but I think that this executive order on its own, just like we talked about before with the legislation, it's insufficient to protect women's sports. It certainly expresses the policy preference. And I think that's a really legitimate concern that, as schools decide how they're going to distribute and share revenues with their athletes, the majority of the money is at most schools is going to be going to football players and men's basketball players.
The president also cited his concern about the Olympics, noting that 75% of the Olympic athletes are coming out of universities. Was this just for show because the Olympics are coming up, or is this going to protect our Olympic teams?
Well, I hope it works to protect our Olympic teams, especially with us hosting the Olympics in LA in 2028. So when you start that reallocation of funds, just like if you're taking money away from the women's sports, you're also taking it away from those Olympic sports. So the fencers and the divers.
Is it too late to put the genie back in the bottle?
I think it probably is. There are efforts to put that genie back in the bottle. But it's really a question. We're really only limited by creativity in terms of how those funds can flow.
How do you go back to what the original intent is if there isn't a checks and balances? And is that where we're heading?
There are some guardrails as a result of the House settlement, which were that they created NIL Go, which is overseen by Deloitte in terms of auditing these third-party deals. And then the executive order coming behind that with also, allowing these third-party deals, that gives it some teeth because now it has the power of the Attorney General behind it, the Department of Labor, and you have some federal agencies who are going to be able to act on it.
All right, well, as you just heard, Dr. Spararo told me that Trump's executive order, if anything, may help Congress get a major NIL reform package across the goal line, but a new revenue sharing program, it's a mouthful, isn't it, just got going this summer as part of a federal lawsuit settlement. Greg, the University of Houston is among the schools offering some big payouts. Reportedly, a bulk of that money is going to basketball and football players. What kind of reaction are you hearing?
Look, I just want to say this whole NIL thing is just crazy town on steroids. I'm still trying to get over the fact that hundreds, if not thousands, of teenagers are being paid in a single year more than I made collectively in the first quarter century of toil in the news business. Now, I just read a list with the 100 top NIL deals, and the complete athlete in the final spot will still clear $1.4 million this year. Look, I get it. Wow. These young people have physical gifts that generate massive audiences and deserve to share in the resulting plunder. Now, as for the new level of regulation, I'm not sure what they hope to accomplish. The genie, as you said, Rudy, is out of the bottle. The athletic arms race is on. As long as it's not illegal to pay players, top programs will figure out a way, by nook or by crook, to put enough cash in their pockets to secure their services. With the transfer portal, players can literally renegotiate every year. And I'm not sure why the president is getting involved. This is 100% unadulterated capitalism, and he's an unabashed capitalist. Look, I don't think it's fair, but highest bidder, biggest wallet wins. Economics rarely is fair. And like it or not, gentlemen, that's what we have in the college game. Well-heeled programs accumulating the best team money can buy. Pony up or prepare to finish back in the pack. What do you think, Stephen?
Take it away, Stephen. You know, SMU got the death penalty in '87. Is this fair?
Yeah, right. I know some of those people who were paying the athletes during the Pony Express are like, man, why didn't we do this earlier? I will be transparent and tell you guys, this is, I don't want to say personal for me because I'm not a college athlete, but I went to private school in high school and we had to do a senior thesis, and mine was on should college athletes get paid. Paying athletes is something that I've been talking about for a while, and South Carolina's University of Florida, legendary head coach Steve Spurrier was one of the first big-name coaches who supported paying athletes. The genie is out of the bottle. I think athletes should get paid. There needs to be regulations on it, especially we were talking off camera about the portal process. A student shouldn't be able to transfer to 4 schools in 4 years. That's a bit crazy, but I am happy that players are getting paid beyond the scholarship that they earn. But yes, there needs to be some type of regulations on it. But on the school side of it, kids are staying in college longer. I just hope these students are still getting their degree if they're staying in college longer.
You know, Greg, the doctor raised a concern that a lot of smaller programs, not money generators, could be, kicked into maybe downgraded club levels or anything like that. Are you hearing any signs or seeing any signs of that in the Houston area?
Not really. I mean, I talked to a friend of mine who said Rice is going to its biggest contributors and saying, hey, we got to pay to play if we want to elevate as a program. And maybe that's where we need to go. We need to say the programs that have, no cap are willing to pay anything to put the best team on the playing field. Big Ten, SEC. Those folks are in a different category than the rest of collegiate athletics. Look, let's face it, the SEC is like AAA NFL. It's serious business over there, and it makes serious money. Welcome back. This is my favorite part of the show when we talk about issues the Fox Texas Trio just needs to get off our collective chest. So here's mine. Most folks in the Texas prison system deserve to be there, a good many of them forever. Now, that said, as we swelter through another smoking hot Texas summer, I just can't fathom why a state with well north of $30 billion rat-holed for a rainy day and fancies itself a caring, God-fearing republic leaves 85,000 inmates in un-air-conditioned cell blocks. Call me a softie, but I agree with the federal judge who says it's cruel and unconstitutional treatment. not to mention an ongoing hazard for thousands of underpaid state detention officers guarding these felons in misery. It is 2025, folks. Let's get these guys some air conditioning a lot faster than we're doing it. Stephen, what's your issue?
I agree with you on that, Greg. I agree. If it's anything, it's for the guards to have some AC. Mine is on college football, of course. College football is almost back. Teams are practicing. I'm just happy that football is back. That's my only thing. I yield my time to the gentleman from Austin.
All right, Rudy, lay it on us.
Okay, I'm going to build on that with another important issue. You said, Stephen, almost back, and that's important to understand, almost back. My issue is the attempt to ramrod fall decorations into all of our homes. Stop it! The wife claims it's okay to do it now because all these items are in the stores, for sale, including Halloween items. I say boo to that, and no way. It should be illegal to put up fall decorations before Labor Day. Mark my words, this is a national issue.
Hear, hear, Rudy. I'm all in with you. All right, that's all the time we have. You can see this interview or any of our past interviews by going to our YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going with us on social media.
The special session is about halfway through, and there's concern that it may end abruptly with a walkout. We'll take a look at the big issues that are affecting the session when we come back next week. We'll see you then. And don't forget to let us know what you think the issue is.